Morning, everyone. Welcome to Good Heart Church, where we deal with a lot of metaphysical things. We want to welcome any white light that wants to come in. And we want to also thank the volunteers that are here today to help again. My wife, Marie, runs the camera, the videographer, and my brother, Paul, who runs the other technical support, including monitoring any comments that you guys make to us. So today, as you can see as you probably saw when you came in, we're working with suggestions for the meditation process. So they are only suggestions, and we'll go over them here in a little bit. First, we want to take some time to bring ourselves to the proper mindset for our fellowship gathering. So I'm going to give us a moment of silence that we can each person can pray to their own deity. And then we'll take a quick, really isn't a meditation. It is just after the prayer. After you pray, we'll take a minute or a few minutes to just relax into acceptance of all the whatever it is that we are to bring in today. And so let's go ahead and start in prayer. Take a few moments. Relax into the acceptance and the bright space for gathering what it is that we need for each other today and making the comments and the suggestions to help others. Just go ahead and relax the top of our heads. And then you're going to relax your temples and your forehead. Take that crease out from in between your eyes as you relax your forehead, your eyebrows, your eyes. Relax your cheekbones and your jaw. Dropping that tongue down to the bottom of your mouth where you can relax there. As you relax your ears, your neck, go ahead and drop your shoulders away from your ears and relax them. Relax your arms, your upper arms, your elbows, your lower arms, your wrists, hands, and fingers. Relax your chest and your upper back. Feel the relaxation. Go ahead and relax your belly and your lower back. And as you sit and relax your buttocks and hips, sink down into whatever you're sitting in without forcing yourself down. Relax your upper legs, your knees, your lower legs, your ankles, feet, and toes. As you relax these things, as you continue in with this moment of silence that we prefer, a brief acceptance and clearing of the mind for what is to come. Try to keep your posture as straight as possible. When you come out of this, come back into this room, whatever room you are in, to accept everything that is about to happen, to listen and comment throughout the process here, to give myself to the light. Okay, so we want to start our process today. First, I want to read what the comments were last week. I didn't answer them online because I'm going to approach all of them, or I'm going to mention them and approach to one in particular today. And all we had 4 comments last week, and it says, yes, inside for happiness, not outside. Thank you. The next one says, meditation for me helps with my ability to find the answers from within and connect to who I am. Third one says, meditation is my mind quiet, and sometimes I get visions. And last one, which is one of the what brought the gathering today's subject, says, how do we stop all the thoughts that distract from meditation? Well, thank the person that made those comments. We want to thank them first off. We are happy to get some comments finally. We haven't had any since we started this, and it's great that people are getting involved. We hope more of you will do that. So let's start. And I'm suggesting these are my experience and how things work with my meditations. And some of the stuff that I do may not work for you. However, I'm not sure that it hasn't anybody I've ever talked to that gets into any deep meditations, they do a similar process. And the first thing I did was learn to breathe from my belly instead of my chest. Now, I used to drive professionally, and at the time that I started this, I was driving buses, and this has been many years ago. And I would drive down the road with all my passengers, and they weren't bothering me, and I was just driving, and I would start practicing breathing from my belly while I was driving. And the reason I'm bringing this up is that you don't have to sit for half an hour trying to learn how to breathe from your belly. Every time you think about it, if you're in a place, you start breathing from your belly. Now, I do. Some people put their hand on their belly and feel their belly going in and out. Other people, like myself, put my hand on my chest and make sure my chest isn't moving. Now, the reason you want to breathe from your belly is when you breathe from your belly, you are filling your lungs from the bottom up instead of being a superficial breath that is from the top down and not going all the way down. So you lose half the capacity of your lungs. And not only do you lose that, but that bottom half then gets congested, gets a bunch of garbage in it, and some other breath work will help you with that. But if you can breathe, I breathe from my belly most of the time, even when I've done it so much that I breathe from my belly almost constantly. So that's one of the first suggestions. And the other suggestion that I have, there are people out there to say get into a comfortable position. And you don't have to be in perfect posture. And my suggestion is to be in as best posture you can be, to have that curvature in your back, to have the as straight as possible. It is actually easier on your back muscles if your posture is straight, posture into the correct posture. However, the reason we want to meditate with that posture straight as possible is so that we have the energies that are coming from spirit are able to go down through our meridians or our nadis, whatever you want to call them, and create the energies that come to our chakras through the spine. If you are humped over, it's like putting a kink in the hose. It slows it down. If you're humped all the way over, you're going to shut it off. And when you're bringing things in, you're also bringing stuff up from your root chakra. So keeping the correct posture, in my opinion, is very important. Many people, when you're listening online and so forth, and you're doing guided meditations, they'll say, get into as comfortable position as you can. Get into as comfortable position as you can. And which I've already mentioned. And a lot of people just say, oh, well, this is as comfortable as I can get. And you're putting a kink in your back and you're not bringing energies in properly. But by sitting in a decent posture, and you will be more relaxed in that posture after you get used to it. So I'll show you a little bit here on we have you can't see it right now, but I have my meditation mat out, and I'll be showing you some of this here in just a few minutes when I go through this a little bit more. So, there's my meditation mat right there. Just leave it on for a moment. So the meditation mat I have has about a mat underneath it and a pillow. And you'll say, why is that? Well, you really should not be grounded when you are meditating. You should be off the ground and insulated from the ground so spirit can come in and it's not competing with the energies of the Mother Earth. Therefore, that's what the mat is for and the pillow is for. The mat, technically, which I cannot do, you'll see here in a few minutes. I have a bad hip. That's why I always have my staff with me and so forth. I cannot make my legs go into a Buddhist position, as I call it, or into the lotus position, or into the cross-legged position at this moment. So when I do it, I have to have something out further. This is a wooden floor; it's not grounding, and I'll be able to put my legs out. We are not meditating today. We are just showing you some methods. Okay. I'm not going to get into a guided meditation or anything like that. If you would like that, I will record them and you can come on to the YouTube, and I'll do that if you suggest that I do a guided meditation. However, with that said, we can now change into what kind of meditations there are. There's a tremendous amount of different meditations out there, especially through the New Age system. But basically, you have two meditations. You have contemplative meditation where you're on a subject, and you have transcendental meditation when you're going into spirit. Okay, most of your Guided meditations are contemplative. Man, I don't know any that aren't. In other words, you're on a subject on that meditation. My job when I do guided meditations, my job is basically to relax you so that you can go wherever you need to be. I guided meditations at a meeting for about 3 years on a weekly basis. And people would come to me afterwards and say, I didn't hear a word you said. And I'd say, that's great. Because I'm only there to relax you. I'm only there to help you relax into the meditative process. What you don't hear from me is because you're supposed to go somewhere else. And we always had a subject because that the venue that we were at sort of required us to have a subject. So it was always a contemplative situation. And then we'd go on and talk about, some people would talk about what they saw or felt or heard or whatever in their meditations. Now that's contemplative. Transcendental meditation is trying to go into what me and one of my mentors called the warm dark, where you have no senses. You don't have the sense of hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, or seeing. That's transcendental meditation. Then when you're there, you can be brought things to you. Telepathically maybe, or just by knowing or by being with spirit. I've never made it yet, and I've been doing this for 20 some years, and I've never yet made it maybe once into the actual unified field. That takes lots and lots of practice, and I am still learning. I still deal with a process that unfortunately I've had to sign a non-disclosure system thing with them, that I cannot tell you what they're teaching me exactly, and I'm not allowed to share all that. But I can share that it is through the self-realization fellowship, and you can get deeper into a meditation through them if you choose. You can look them up. Selfrealizationfellowship.org, I believe, is their website. You can look them up, see if it's interesting to you. I will bring in that one of the things that helps, and some people, and I actually did a video when I had my own business of Reiki and spiritual mentoring that I was doing for profit. Some people like to bend it before they start. They like to get their body loosened up, and so that their spine is loosened up in order to receive the energies, but they still want to sit straight when they're done. But that's just a preference. I don't always do that. I do it from time to time. I always work my neck because I have some medical issues in my neck. So I'm always work my neck before I do my meditation. That's me. The other thing is breath work. Breath work will help you to calm down. Breath work will do a lot of things for you to help you relax. And that breath work can even go into a yoga if you choose. These are all things to help you calm down, prepare. Yoga in and of itself is not what we portray in this country. Yoga is its own philosophy, its own way of going into spiritual ecstasy or spiritual enlightenment. And it uses the asanas to help you do many things. It's not for physical strength. It's not for physical um, healing. It's more to connect you to spirit and get your energies working in the proper way to get you to contact spirit and be with spirit. So yoga, along with breath work, will help with your meditations. So with with all that's going on, the question was, well, let's review that question now because that's the ultimate thing here. Let's review this question. And the question is, how do we stop all the thoughts that distract from meditation? Well, some of those things will help to not bring them in. The breath work, the yoga, the bringing in, letting yourself be proper posture so you can bring in the right energies. But the thoughts that you bring in at the beginning of your meditation are supposed to be there. Until you become a very experienced meditator, they are supposed to be there. They're often things that need to be dealt with with you. Doesn't mean you have to sit there and focus on that particular issue that's in that thought. It means once it goes through and goes back out, well, it has then been dealt with in your mind and you can let go. I personally very seldom have the same thought going through my meditation. Once it's gone, it's gone. So don't focus on the thoughts. Just let them come and let them go. If something continues to come back, it's probably something in your life that you haven't dealt with in a different way than just having thoughts about it. Whether that means approaching somebody about something or dealing with a physical ailment or whatever, it's something that you still need to deal with. And then you might want to do a contemplative meditation on that. Now, how do I get rid of those thoughts? Once I know my belly breathing, I focus on my belly. My focus is on my belly. And as long as my focus is on my belly, those thoughts start going away. Okay. If you have the thoughts, that means you've taken your attention away from your belly, put it back down on your belly. And once you start going back down on your belly, you'll notice that things start going away. You will eventually, I used to do this. I used to meditate on one of the busiest roads in our town many a time. I lived on that road. My Reiki center was on that road. My spiritual center was on that road. And I would meditate while I mean, there'd be sirens going up and motorcycles going down and loud cars and all. And I couldn't, once I'd get into meditation, I couldn't hear any of it. I was watching my belly, just paying attention to your belly going up and down. I'll show you that in a minute. The other thing you want to do that I suggest is when you close your eyes, don't have your eyeballs looking straight out. Bring your eyeballs up to the center, not uncomfortably, just bring them up to the center. You can see some of this information online, but you bring them up to the center, and now you are starting to concentrate on your third eye. And your third eye is your connection to spirit. Your third eye that you use right here actually goes back into the base of your spine or your head, in the base of your brain, into the pineal gland, which is the connection to spirit. And actually, if you would dissect a person's brain and look at the pineal gland, first of all, it looks like a pine cone, but that's why, and it is, um, um, it's a sort of an upside down pine cone, if I recall. But it also, if you dissected it, it would look like the eye of Horus, which is the eye to the spirit world. There's also other things that you can do. You can. I suggest learning online. I can get some more information if you folks still want some. But there are crystals in your pineal gland that can be activated in certain ways. Usually, that's through tensing up and bringing up energies from the base, from your coccyx up to the brain. We can go into that depth or more if people want to, but not today. But I mean, in a future gathering. Um, but the most important things, in my opinion, Well, let me get down on the mat and I see if we can do something. By the way, while I'm getting down on the mat, my hip is bothering me, so this I have to use this stuff. But while we're getting down on the map, I ought to say that I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, that the lotus position. If you can sit in the lotus position, that's where you want to sit. You're going to say why? The lotus position, which I cannot get into, and never have my life have I been able to get into, but the lotus position creates so that you can automatically are in the proper posture. So if you can get into the lotus, well, I can put this leg up. I just can't put my other leg up. I can never have never been able to get this left leg up on top of here. And sitting on top of a mat and sitting on top of a pillow, your knees are to be below your hips. The lotus position will put you that way. Even what I call a Buddhist position, I don't know if I can get into it or not, is like this, and I can't get into it. That's why I keep my legs straight to keep my knees below. I used to be able to get into this position, but then your knees will flatten down and be below your hips. And that's the proper way of many people say is meditation. So there's a lot of information out there about meditation, and I will tell you that most of the research, most of the work that I do is on older information. I like stuff that is pre-new age so that I'm getting stuff that is not being um, used back when people didn't really, how do I want to put this? Back when the authors of these things did not want or did not need to have anything going on. They didn't have to have. They were probably looked down upon because of their philosophy and theories and beliefs and faith because of the time that they were in. And those are the ones that I feel, in my own opinion, are probably telling more truer information versus people who are coming out today and saying things that are just because everybody else is saying it. So you can go from I read stuff from the late 18th century or late 19th century up to probably the 1970s is what my favorites are. Before all this other stuff came about. Not to say that there isn't good stuff out there recently, just saying that you have to have more discretion on some of those as to and compare it to some of the older writings and see, you know, Edgar Casey, Ledbetter, Alice Bailey all have some information out there, and these are just a few. There's plenty of other authors out there. So as you're sitting here, you want your hands. I don't know if you can see my hands. The closer you have your hands to your hips, the more you will have a straight spine. If you have them out here, you have a tendency of dropping your shoulders down. You bring your hands into your waist, and you keep them in the position that we've all seen everywhere on TV and so forth, where you're keeping your hands like this. But you can it almost is hidden under my shirt. But if you can keep them there, your spine will be straighter. Okay, and and you won't get your head cut off. So this is one of the ways of helping to keep your spine. But when you're here and you're in your proper posture, you want to relax into it. You don't want to be stiff and like a board. You want to relax into that posture. Okay. And so you want to be as straight as possible. You want to be with your knees bent if you can, with your see how the I you can see this leg will go all the way down. And if you can put both legs down there like that, my left leg will just or my right leg, I'm saying sorry, my right leg will not do that. Maybe someday if I get some if they decide that I need a new hip or something, maybe I can do that. So if you are like this and you have one suggestion, if you can't, if you're outside doing it on the ground, is some kind of insulation, wool blanket or something like this that you don't, but this would get pretty dirty and I don't like taking it outside. Something to insulate you, something to keep you from totally grounding to the Mother Earth, so that what you have in the base of your spine, what you have in your coccyx, can start rising, and you can start concentrating on your belly. I had one person tell me one point that after I mentioned to this person about not grounding, and a couple of days later, this person came back to me and said, the best meditations I've had is when I've been sitting on something that was keeping me from grounding. I said, well, this person hadn't thought about that in the past. And that became an inspiration and possibly an inspiration. He hasn't mentioned it since, but, something that may have felt that it was something to look into and pursue. But it was interesting that he came back to me and said that the best meditations he had was after he thought about it, was when he wasn't grounded. And I can attest to the same thing. So that is some pretty good information, if you ask me. It's taken me years to come up with all these things because there's so much confusion and so much out there on meditation. And people like guided meditations, but if you're trying to truly get into the unified field, a guided meditation does not help. A guided meditation keeps you in your senses because you're listening to the person that is guiding the meditation. I also suggest, and I have to confess, my wife is the best one at this. I also suggest that once you start a meditation, prior to actually going into the meditation, that you put a white light around yourself. My wife is very good at white light, and you put a white light around yourself because you can draw in dark energies in a meditation if you're not in the right frame of mind. So by putting a white light around you and inviting light energies into you, you will be much better off. Once you start meditating and getting at a higher vibration and getting into more of the light, you'll have less and less problems with the dark energies. But at the beginning, you can bring in. I had one lady years ago say to me when we were doing meditations, and she said, I was told never to do a meditation because every time I did it, I brought in darkness. And I knew this lady for quite a while before she said this. And I looked at her and I said, were you using drugs and alcohol then? And she said, yes. I said, okay, that was your problem. I said, you get off of those. Now that she was off of them already, I said, now you'll be able to meditate and bring in the light and bring in the white light. She's never had a problem meditating since. So you can bring in dark energies through your own habits because you've already brought dark energies in with some of those habits. And you will continue to bring them in because that's what you are used to having. That is the vibration that you are at. And that will bring in, keep in mind that the dark energies are of a lower vibration. And those energies will block you from what you're trying to attempt. Now, I will say that just like anything else, and I think I've said this in the past, that this is not an overnight success. It's not a quick situation. You have to do this for a long time. But in the scheme of things, 20 years is not that long. We are eternal beings, and what 20 years on this earth is a blink of an eye in our eternity. So to learn how to meditate, to learn how to become one with the unified field, to learn how to bring in the white light and create the vibration that we should be in and be one with our deity is, even if it takes us our entire lives on this earth or more time in the spirit world or whatever you believe in, it's not very long because we are eternal. We are infinite. So that, as we talked about last week, that is our ultimate goal, to find bliss. And meditation helps us find that bliss. So if we have the time, you can say, well, I don't have time. I have all these other things I have to do in my life. And I'm going to say, how much time do you spend on TV? How much time do you play on the computer? How much time in the mornings do you sit around and doing nothing but drinking coffee? Can you take at least 15 minutes to a half an hour at twice a day and spend time trying to connect with spirit? There's an old saying that if you feed the light dog or you feed the dark dog, which one do you feed the most? If you feed the dark dog more than the light dog, you're going to become a dark dog. If you feed the light dog more, you're going to be a light dog. Now, point is, an hour watching a YouTube like we just having is not feeding a lot of that light dog, but only for 40 minutes or a half or an hour. Are you feeding the light dark dog the rest of the week? Or are you meditating and bringing yourself out of that? Are you doing research? Are you doing studies? Are you doing reading? Are you watching other venues of videos, whether it be more YouTubes or movies, or what are you doing to feed that light dog on a regular basis throughout the week, and not just spending 40 minutes to an hour on YouTube watching one thing? So the more you feed, the more you'll be. That's why I say at the end of every one of these talks that I have through these gatherings, that is one of the reasons. And we'll get into this, what my saying is, in a little bit more, but that's why I say be spiritual in everything you do. Because the more spiritual you become, the more time you can spend in the spiritual um, seeking, the more you'll find the light. So watch what you do during the week. Keep your mind on your deity. Keep your mind on your guides or your angels or your whatever it is that you are attracted to bring the white light into you, to raise your vibration, to become one with your deity. All of this, and that will bring spirit into everything you do. You will be mindful of spirit in everything, from the tree that you're leaning up against to the couch that you're sitting on. you'll be mindful that spirit is with you always, and that you are spirit and you belong with spirit. Any comments or anything we have, Paul? Well, I hope this has helped everybody out. Do we have any questions in here?
Quest. Gee, uh, any suggestions they'd like to add in the way they meditate that might be helpful?
Absolutely. Good suggestion. Good suggestion. Could the microphone pick that up, Paul?
What?
Did the microphone pick up her suggestion? Very good. So let's see. Anybody in the comments that can give suggestions, like Mary said, what you do. What is it that you do to help yourself raise your vibration? What is it that you do to try and become one with your deity to help your meditations? There are certainly suggestions out there, I'm sure. Do you watch? Some people watch a candle instead of their breath. But if you can concentrate on something and get blurry vision with it, that's great. That's another suggestion. I can't do that. I have to have my eyes closed because if I'm watching that candle and somebody or something happens over here, I'm going to see it, and it's going to take me out of my vibration of meditation. So, give us your suggestions. That's a great idea, and just be not just suggestions on how you do. Just give us suggestions on what you do for spiritual seeking, not just meditation. I mean, I can be taught here too. Everybody in this room can be taught from you people. So let's start sharing. Again, we want to thank the lady who made these comments and brought this subject up. This is what we're wanting. This is what we need. When I say we need, I mean we need it so that we can grow as well as you can grow to become more spiritual, more one with, because we are all one. So if there are no more questions or comments, we want to thank you all for being here today. Make comments, share this, be a subscriber, give us a thumbs up, and ring the bell if you wish. Oh, we have another comment over here. No, doesn't cost a blooming thing. It doesn't cost us anything. It doesn't cost you any. Well, it does cost us stuff. We have an investment into all the cameras and stuff, but doesn't cost you a thing to be part of this. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe. It doesn't cost anything to watch it. And we're trying to reach as many spiritual beings as possible, as many souls as we can, to help raise the consciousness of the world and the universe. Thank you again for being here. Be spiritual in everything you do.